I cannot believe Macarandum 42. She cannot be serious. Arrgh. Good day, mates. I am Bill, the Asian Pirate, and today we are going to be talking Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And as you have probably heard, a few days ago, CBS officially dropped the announcement on their YouTube channel and their website that the long-awaited Captain Pike series has been greenlit, and it will be featuring Anson Mount, Ethan Peck, and Rebecca Romaine reprising their roles that they first introduced in Season 2 of Discovery. So we're going to go over a couple of things that I've noticed since the news dropped this week. So bear with me. There's a lot to go over. First and foremost, as a longtime fan of science fiction and Star Trek in particular, I have been very disgusted by the attitudes and opinions of the so-called fandom menace. And I find it rather interesting that since the announcement of the new Pike series has dropped, I went to some of the more prolific members of the fandom menace, such as Doomcock's Overlord DVD, as well as Nerdrotic and Midnight's Edge, and there does not seem to be any chatter on their channels about the new Pike series. The only exception that I was able to find was on Mecha Random 42's channel. And we have a clip here that we're going to show you. And what bothers me, let me show you the clip, and then I'll give you my 2 cents worth.
And I'm just disappointed. And you know what? I'm going to cover this and I'll probably watch it to pick out what's wrong with it. What's wrong with it is you're going back to Captain Pike again. You're still trying to make the cage relevant. I'm sorry, the cage was unaired for a reason. It wasn't good enough for a series. That is why it is ridiculous to keep trying to either fix the canon of the cage, make it more explainable, I guess. Say, oh, well, see, Michael Burnham picked up a flower and smiled because Spock did in the cage. Well, yes, because the cage is the unaired pilot that wasn't good enough for a series. Stop going to the cage. I'm tired of it.
Now, my concern is Mecha Random has numerous times on her channel stated that she is a longtime Star Trek fan. Yet to hear her say that she is disappointed because they keep going back to the Pike character, and that he wasn't good enough to be a Star Trek series, is very disturbing to me. Let's be clear about this. Pike is a beloved character. Pike is in canon because of the 2-part episode of the Menagerie. And any true fan of Star Trek is going to want to watch a series that details the life and career of Captain Christopher Pike. And this will lead up to the events of the cage and subsequently the Menagerie, which was a very meaningful episode. It was a Spock-centric episode that dealt with loyalty to one's captain above all else. So for Mecha Random to say that she was disappointed that they're going back to the Pike character, I think it's extremely, extremely short-sighted on her part. The other thing we're going to talk about, and I'm going to record this screen here. I went to an article written by the Mashable. They posted a story titled, "The hero of the new Star Trek series is the only captain that predates Kirk." Now, before we get into this article on the Mashable, I will say that at the very end of the article, they do mention that in the timeline, Captain Archer does predate all the other Star Trek captains. Well, and that's a whole sticky issue because technically Captain Picard and the crew went back to the date of first contact with the Vulcans. So technically Captain Picard in the timeline was the first Star Trek captain. But if you negate that aspect of it, Captain Jonathan Archer in line of the TV series was the first Star Trek captain. I did not appreciate in this headline that they said that Captain Pike was the only captain that predates Captain Kirk. And I'm pretty sure that somebody had already complained to Mashable about this, which is why they put that little blurb at the end of the story saying that while Archer was the first Star Trek series captain, yeah, we'll go into that. That's an interesting statement. So, it says here, longtime Star Trek fans undoubtedly know this bit of trivia, but William Shatner's famed Enterprise captain James T. Kirk was not actually the first Star Trek captain. Sorry, hard to read here. It is a useful detail to keep in mind in light of the latest bit of news from Star Trek franchise. On Friday, CBS announced the new all-access series Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It brings us a pre-Kirk era of the USS Enterprise's life with co-creator and executive producer Akiva Goldsman. So, the misinformation that we see in this article is laughable. I think in reality they should have pulled the article and re-edited it, and really this should have been caught by the editors before it was ever even released into the internet. So what do we know about Strange New Worlds at this point? We do know that it is a prequel series, and it focuses on Captain Christopher Pike's time aboard the Enterprise. And according to Akiva Goldsman, this series is going to be optimistic and very much a classic style of Star Trek series. So it's going to be very episodic. The one thing that we know for sure is that when we used to watch the classic Star Trek episodes, these characters would be traumatized by an event in an episode. They would go through some extremely horrific events. Name a few. Dr. McCoy being killed in Shore Leave and then being brought to life. To me, I think I would have some post-traumatic stress from that. And then Where No Man Has Gone Before, where Gary Mitchell becomes a super being after being exposed to the Great Galactic Barrier, and Kirk is forced to kill his best friend. And then, most notably, The City on the Edge of Forever, where Captain Kirk falls in love with Edith Keeler, and in order to restore history, he has to let her die. And when you think about all the traumatic incidents that these characters have gone through in their careers on Star Trek, there has to be consequences. And I'm hoping that the producers and writers of this show are going to keep that in mind. Yes, you can have interconnected plots throughout the seasons in the series, but the whole series doesn't have to be serialized. Star Trek worked best when it was episodic, where each story had a beginning, middle, and end. And another incident that comes to mind is when Captain Picard was assimilated by the Borg in The Best of Both Worlds, Part 1 and 2. And after that incident, Captain Picard, throughout his entire life, was plagued by post-traumatic stress from being assimilated by the Borg. So while each episode and movie had its own beginning, middle, and end, that trauma that Picard suffered by being assimilated by the Borg, it was always in the back of his mind, and it always affected his decisions. And that's what made Star Trek great, is that is the reality that they bring to the series from real life. You know, and I think any soldier who has suffered traumatic injury in wartime, and then they come home and they have to deal with post-traumatic stress, I think they can see the value in a storyline such as that. So, I'm hopeful that the producers are going to get Strange New Worlds correct. I am also hopeful that some of these idiots in the fandom menace are going to kind of cut back on their hatred and their vitriol and their desire to drive up viewership. I always believed that if you told the truth and you were honest, that alone would take care of your views. And that's why I don't try to do a lot of clickbait and try to put out a lot of misinformation when I put these videos out. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you excited for Strange New Worlds? Are you hopeful that CBS will finally get this right?
And that's it for this episode of The Asian Pirate. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon to receive future notifications, and give this video a thumbs up so others can find it as well. This is The Asian Pirate. Live long and prosper.